She left her body, traveled through a dark tunnel, and met her deceased father in a brilliant light. Then he gave her a message. Padre Pio wants you to go back. Stay tuned to hear this amazing story.
Ave mundi spes Maria.
Welcome to Following Padre Pio. We're grateful to all those who quietly helped this apostolate continue reaching souls through Padre Pio's spiritual legacy. Today's story may touch your heart in ways you did not expect. Today's story comes from the book Amazing Miracles of Padre Pio and the Stories Behind Them by Frank M. Riga. It's the remarkable testimony of an Italian woman named Teresa Sorrentino. And just a quick note before we begin, the events you're about to hear happened many years after Padre Pio had already left this earthly life. Listen to this. In 1972, when she was about 12 years old, Teresa went on a pilgrimage to San Giovanni Rotondo. During that visit, she developed a deep admiration for Padre Pio. Looking at photographs of him, she was struck by the gentle and fatherly expression of that humble friar. She didn't know much about him at the time, but something in her responded as if she did. From that moment on, Teresa always considered Padre Pio to be her protector. Later, when she discovered that Padre Pio had been born on May 25th, which also happened to be her own birthday, she took it as a special sign, a bond uniting the two of them. Decades later, on a Friday in May of 1998, Teresa, now a married adult, was particularly happy. She had just learned that she was pregnant with her third child. That same morning, something unusual began to happen. She suddenly noticed an incredibly sweet perfume in the house. She went from room to room trying to find where it was coming from, but the fragrance seemed to follow her everywhere she went. Oddly enough, nobody else could smell it. 2 days later, Teresa began experiencing signs of a possible miscarriage. Now, it's not explicitly mentioned in the story, but it's pretty clear that she indeed had a miscarriage that day. The following day, while speaking on the phone with her doctor, she suddenly began to feel weak. Her last words before collapsing unconscious onto the floor were, "I feel ill." She fell with a force, slamming her head against the telephone receiver. It penetrated her right eye, seriously damaging the eyeball. Teresa was rushed to a nearby hospital where doctors discovered the gravity of the situation. A vein in her brain had burst. But the hospital was not equipped to handle such a case. She had to be transported to another facility. By the time she arrived, she was close to death. The doctors did everything possible. She underwent a cerebral drainage procedure, but it only worsened her condition. Teresa slipped into a deep coma. You can just imagine the scene. A hospital room filled with machines, tubes, wires, doctors standing around a woman they could no longer help. A CT scan revealed that an aneurysm had formed due to a blood clot connected to the miscarriage. The coma was considered irreversible. There seemed to be no hope. Even if Teresa were to awaken, the doctors believed she would likely be paralyzed, blind in one eye, and suffer disturbances in speech and thought. But here's where the story turns. During those days, while her body lay motionless in the hospital bed, Teresa experienced something extraordinary. She later described it this way. She felt as though she had broken free from her body and abandoned it behind. She found herself in a dark tunnel. The darkness was so thick that she became fearful as she traveled through it. Then, at the end of the tunnel, she suddenly found herself immersed in a vibrant and brilliant light. Teresa later said she could not describe the joy and peace that filled her soul in that moment. She sensed there were persons within the light, though she could not see them clearly at first. And then she recognized one of them. It was her father. She saw him as a beautiful figure of light. He had died 13 years earlier from a throat cancer. An operation before his death had left an opening in his throat, but now, standing before her, he appeared perfect. Teresa asked him why there was no opening in his throat anymore. He replied that where he now was, there were no physical defects of any kind. Then Teresa noticed another figure nearby, a young man she recognized immediately. He had died at only 18 years old and was the son of one of her friends. She marveled at seeing him there. Her father explained that the young man wanted to give her an urgent message for his family. The young man revealed personal details known only to his relatives. He described the exact location of a hidden letter inside the house, the specific piece of antique furniture, the drawer, and even a maroon-colored notebook where the letter had been placed. After her recovery, Teresa verified that everything he told her was true. She believed God allowed this encounter precisely because the young man had not belonged to her family. If she had only encountered deceased relatives, she might later have dismissed the experience as a dream. But because the information given by the boy proved true, she became convinced that her experience had been real. Then her father revealed something else. He told Teresa that throughout her terrible ordeal, she had been protected by Padre Pio. He told her that the perfume she had smelled before entering the coma had been the perfume of the saint. Finally, he said that Padre Pio would heal her completely. And perhaps some of you understand that feeling. Life can bring moments when everything seems uncertain. Illness, family struggles, fears about the future, burdens you carry quietly. One of the reasons so many people become protected children of Padre Pio is not simply to support this apostolate, but because they desire that same sense of spiritual protection and companionship through prayer. But then came the difficult moment. Teresa's father told her she had to return. She replied that she never wanted to leave this place of peace and happiness. But he insisted, saying that Padre Pio wanted her to return to her family and give testimony about everything she had experienced. At the mention of her family, Teresa remembered her 2 little children. She realized she must return. Guided by her father and a young man, she re-entered the dark tunnel, but this time without fear. When she regained consciousness, her mother, together with a room full of doctors and nurses, was present. But something remarkable happened shortly beforehand. Before Teresa woke, her mother suddenly began to smell a strong fragrance of perfume. She immediately understood it as a sign of Padre Pio's presence. She asked everyone in the room if they could smell it too, but the others could smell nothing except medicines and carbolic acid. Her mother realized that heaven was giving her a sign. Filled with joy, she cried out that it was the perfume of Padre Pio and that her daughter would soon awaken from the coma. The doctors, however, thought she was simply hysterical and attempted to calm her down. But about 30 minutes later, Teresa opened her eyes. Usually when someone awakens from a coma, they are confused, disoriented, but Teresa was completely lucid. The doctors were astonished. They had never seen anything like it. And what makes the story even more striking is this. The date of her awakening was May 25th, her birthday and the birthday of Padre Pio. Teresa was later transferred to a hospital in Rome, where surgeons performed 2 long and difficult operations to repair the damaged vein in her brain, which had split open in 4 different places. Yet, just as she had been told, everything went well. There were no lasting consequences. As for the damaged right eye, it mysteriously recovered completely, even though the doctors had told her she would permanently lose half her vision. The doctors called it a miracle of nature. But Teresa knows she owes everything to Padre Pio. And with that, our story concludes. If today's story reminded you how deeply Padre Pio still touches souls, we invite you not to remain only a viewer, but to become part of this mission spiritually through the Protected Children of Padre Pio program. Your monthly support helps this apostolate continue reaching those who may be searching for hope, guidance, or consolation at precisely the right moment. More importantly, your intentions and loved ones are spiritually remembered through regular holy masses and prayer. If you feel called to take that step, we warmly invite you to join us through the link below.